Hello everybody and welcome to another episode of the 5 Rounds podcast, the only podcast out there with the cardio for those deep water championship rounds. I am Mags and I have just got through watching UFC Fight Night, Aspen Ladd versus Norma Dumont. Now, before we get into the main card, let's quickly run through these prelims. So we started the show with Ariane Olofskay picking up the third round submission against Estela Nunes in the strawweight division. Then we went to the men's bantamweight division where Dinar Batgarel got the first round KO of Brandon Davis. And going back to the women's, this time the flyweight division, we had Luana Carolina getting the decision against Lupita Godinez. And then we had Danny Roberts in the welterweight picking up a good victory against Ramazan Emiev. And then in the featured prelim, we had Bruno Silva picking up the third round KO against Andrew Sanchez. So going on to the main card, we opened in the featherweight division. Ludovic Klan, the Slovakian, looking to beat veteran fighter Nate Landwehr. Both with relatively lackluster performances in their UFC run so far. Ludwig was going 1-1 into this fight, and Nate was actually 1-2. But started the first round pretty nervy for both. It took quite a while for the fight to get going. Landwehr obviously working off that kind of brawling style. He's more known for his vicious knockout power rather than his technical prowess, and Klan very much out of that kickboxer mentality, and he certainly used those tools to decent effect in this first round, landing quite a few body kicks. Landwehr was nervy. I think he was very weary of those kicks of Ludovic, so he stayed on the outside, kind of just circled round, trying to avoid the bigger kicks from Ludwig Klan. But unfortunately, Ludwig was still able to find his target quite a lot, landing kicks to the body, landing a big knee. Able to pick off some combinations, and it was very, very kind of timid almost from Nate Landwehr in this first round. With about 20 seconds to go, he does finally start to score some major offence, landing a little bit of a flurry of punches and a knee, but the klaxon goes, and it was quite clearly a dominant round for Ludovic Klan, and Landwehr certainly had a lot of work to do to get this win back on track. In the second round, he very much did so. He started in the same vein, taking some combinations with the kicks, and kind of retreating, but this time he was able to force more clinches, was able to tie up Klan, which kind of mitigates those big kicks that Klan is good at, and when Klan was able to kind of force himself out of the clinch, Landwehr was able to land some big punches on the way out. Klan kind of then left the kicking for a little while in this round and tried to land some more punches, even went for some takedowns, and this is where the kind of tide turned for me in this round. Klan got stuffed on one of the takedowns, and whilst he was trying to kind of force the manoeuvre, he ended up eating a lot of big knees, to the point where he actually ended up taking a knee just to protect himself from some of these big shots from Landwehr, which actually played into Landwehr's benefit, because that meant Nate was able to grab the neck and go for an anaconda. Klan is able to escape and get back to the feet, and he goes back to his wheelhouse of the kicks, but you can tell there's a little bit of the momentum lost now when Landwehr was landing more big shots. He had certainly had a lot more confidence. He started blocking more of the kicks, landing elbows and punches, really kind of rattled Ludwig Klan. The end of the round came when Landwehr was absolutely teeing off on Klan, and essentially the klaxon saved him from taking an absolute destroying. Going into the third, Klan again takes control of the octagon, lands a jab. Landwehr starts throwing some of his own head kicks, which is interesting against someone with the kickboxing skill of Ludwig Klan. It's almost like they were trying to attack each other with kind of their enemy's best arsenal, because Klan started landing more of his left hands. But once it settled down, Lander started landing way better shots, bigger shots, crisper shots, more diverse shots. He catches Klan with a knee, which Klan is able to stuff, but it gives him the opportunity to drive forward and go for the takedown. But Land was able to stay upright and push the action down, so he actually ends up in a more beneficial position. Is able to grab the neck again, and this time there's no escape for Ludwig Klan. The anaconda choke is set in, the squeeze is on, and Ludwig Klan has no option but to tap. So from a pretty nervy start, Nate Landwehr ends up picking up a very decent victory, and hopefully that can lead to him doing a lot more in this featherweight division. So after that, we go to the women's flyweight division with an unbeaten in the UFC Manon Fiorot, who was looking to extend her win streak to 8, taking on Mayra Bueno Silva, the very, very dangerous Brazilian. And this match was incredibly one-sided for me, but with the reactions of the fighters, you would think it was a lot more closer than it was. Essentially, Manon Fiorot was absolutely superb with keeping Bueno Silva at bay with the push kicks and the side kicks. Not exactly devastating in terms of power, but enough that it keeps Bueno Silva out of that kind of a close, dirty boxing exchange that she's so good at. The problem with Fiorot's attack was it was very one-dimensional. It was push kick, follow up with 3 punch combinations to the face. Bueno Silva quickly realised that this was the tactic, absorbed the push kick pretty easily, and then just covered up for the punches. But she started being quite gun-shy in terms of throwing her own shot, but yet kind of cocky and arrogant with the way she was mocking Fiorot, to the point where she was putting her chin down, sticking her tongue out, putting her arms behind her back, as if she had this fight essentially in the bag, when she had nothing of the sort, because she wasn't throwing anywhere near the number of attacks and significant attacks that Manon Fiorot was doing, and props to Manon to not be goaded into changing up your game plan because your opponent is trying to show you that it's not working. And in fact, there's a point in the second round where Fiorot actually lands a push kick that knocks Bueno Silva off her feet because she's trying to goad Manon. She gets up, and there's obviously no damage from it. It was just literally knocking her off balance. But it was a very kind of weird showboating when you aren't actually winning the fight because you're not doing enough work to put your opponent in danger. And the few times that Bueno Silva did land some big shots. She was good at. She got the clinch in a couple of times and was able to pin Ferror to the cage. But Ferror was very wily, very calm and confident, able to get out without taking too much damage. Bueno Silva also got quite a bit of success with kicking the lead leg. But there was just not enough of it. Not enough counter-attacking, not enough kind of taking the impetus, and all the way through the round, all the way through the fight even, Ferror stuck to a game plan, pushing the fighter, her opponent away, landing the jabs, which didn't cause any damage, but it was still output. It was still more volume of attacks over Bueno Silva, and even going into the third round, Bueno Silva didn't have that worry of that she needed to push the pace. I don't know whether she thought that she was winning the fight or not, or the very few attacks and combinations that she pulled off was enough to sway the judges, because it certainly wasn't, with all three judges giving all 3 rounds to Manon Ferror. One judge, Tony Weeks, gave the third round as a 10-8, and it was just that dominant of a performance for Manon Ferror. Never in danger of knocking her opponent out, never in danger of subbing her opponent, but just massively outworking her. And she goes to 3-0 here in the UFC, and like I said, an 8-fight win streak. So props to Manon Ferror, and we may have another decent contender here in the women's flyweight division. So after this, in the middle of the card, we have a record-breaking fight with Jim Miller, absolutely smashing records left, right and centre. This is currently I think it was his 37th UFC fight, which takes him one ahead of former record holder Donald Cerrone. He's also was taking on Eric Gonzalez, who got the late minute call, who was making his debut. So another record broken with the biggest number of UFC fights between opponents, with Eric making his debut and Jim being 37 fights above him. And Jim has always it's always been hinted that this may be his last run in the UFC, last push, but he said recently that he wants to stand alone in another UFC record book. He is currently one of 2 fighters that have fought on UFC 100 and UFC 200, the other fighter being the beast incarnate himself, Brock Lesnar. But Jim Miller said he wants to kind of extend his record by being the only fighter to be on UFC 100, UFC 200 and UFC 300. Now I think UFC 300 is scheduled to be in the middle of 2025, so for somebody who's knocking on the door of 40, it's going to take quite a resurgence of his career to be able to keep going all the way through till that time. But if anybody can do it, Jim Miller has proved he can do it. Another kind of thing I wanted to note as well, this is his, like I said, 37th UFC fight, and it's actually the 37th time he made weight with no issues at all, in a very sly dig from the UFC, by kind of signifying that record to people who maybe have struggled with weight. So yeah, but props to Jim Miller, record-breaking career. It nearly was all for naught in this fight, because Eric Gonzalez started really bright. He looked like he wanted to take the fight to Jim Miller, had absolutely no fear. Started with a big right hand, hit some front kicks. Miller went to his usual arsenal of starting with chopping at the legs, and then kind of switching up and going for head kicks, clinchers. Everybody knows Jim Miller's style. He's very, very well rounded. He can fight well on the ground. He's got great stand up. So he's a danger at any kind of a facet of mixed martial arts. But Gonzalez does land quite a few big shots, and you can see that Miller ends up being wobbled, but he uses that wily veteran tactic of going in for a clinch or for a takedown to give himself time to shake the cobwebs out, regather his thoughts and his position, and he was able to do that. Gonzalez had full guard, but it certainly gave Miller the time to come back round. He's able to posture up, and Gonzalez ends up being able to force himself to his knees, kicks away, and is back to his feet. He lands another big uppercut. You can tell he thought that this fight was his for the taking, and it probably was at this point. He was throwing some big punches. But then Miller lands a huge left hand, and that really stuns Gonzalez. Miller, as he would do, he powered forward, tried to force the fight, ends up getting into a clinch, but he forces his way out of the clinch to rattle off a little flurry of shots. But the bell goes. A very tight first round for me. I would have probably gave it to Gonzalez just for the wobble and just for the brightness of coming in. But yeah, it's a very, very razor thin first round, and Jim Miller had a lot to think about there. Coming out into the second, Jim Miller thought, I've had enough of this shit, got stuff to do. So he comes out, and Gonzalez goes for an overreach of a punch, and Miller catches him with a counter shot. Gonzalez goes for a kick, and then Miller again with a perfect counter, left hand right on the button. Gonzalez is fast asleep before he even hits the ground. Miller making sure of the finish with a few big shots before referee Mark Smith steps in. But yeah, it's a massive knockout for Jim Miller, and a real kind of statement that, yeah, he may be wild, he may be a veteran, he may be an old dog, but he's still in this to do some damage, and do some damage to Eric Gonzalez. He definitely did. So getting to the co-main event, Andrei Arlovski, former UFC champion, another huge veteran in this game. Something close to the amount of fights that Jim Miller's had. I think he's had maybe his 35th fight in the UFC total. Had well over 50 fights in MMA, taking on the heavy hitting Brazilian. And yeah, for me, this fight, and then going into the main event later on, it was such a damp squib, such a letdown, knowing that these two fighters can, what they can do and the damage that they can cause. I just came out of this fight feeling like I wanted more. Olofskay using his kickboxing background, landing some leg kicks, throwing some high kicks. Felipe going for his bread and butter of punches to the body, but he was missing a hell of a lot of punches. Andrei Arlovski's head movement was pretty on point for the majority of this fight. Able to stay out of the range of Felipe, and then just hack him down with the leg kicks. It seemed nervy in going into closer range to land some big shots, and he only did it a couple of times in the first round. But once he realised how far his range was, he started to throw a little bit more, but still kind of started reverting back to those leg kicks. A very tense first, nervy round for Arlovski. He was easily the more active fighter. Carlos Felipe looking like he was struggling to find his range, but also looking like he was waiting for maybe the perfect knockout punch, which he just wasn't able to find in that first round. Second round, and Carlos came out a little bit more aggressive, started to back Arlovski up against the fence and started to land more punches to the body. Arlovski fired back with flurries of his own, and we got into a little bit of a flurry battle. Felipe lands a decent right hand, but Olofskay fires back with one of his own, and he then made a little bit of space and got back to what was working in the first round, the kind of sticking and moving 1-2 and out of there tactics. Felipe wanted, again, as much like he did in the first, he wanted to be in close, he wanted to be in like that the form boxer, dirty boxing style, but Arlovski was avoiding his big shots and landing the little jabs and the teasing leg kicks to really kind of frustrate and just build up a score, I suppose, on Carlos Felipe. Going towards the end of the second, Arlovski said that there was an eye poke and tried to get the attention of Herb Dean, but Herb waved it off. They use the ringside technology where they have actually someone checking the replay, and they have the red light, yellow light system, and it was found that it was a punch that landed in Arlovski's eye, certainly not a wayward finger. Felipe tries to push in these last few seconds, was able to clinch a little bit more, but Arlovski able to pull his way out, and on his way took a right hand for his trouble, then another one, then a flying knee. A better round for Felipe this, but I still think that Arlovski had done enough to take it. He'd kept Felipe at bay for the majority of the first two rounds and picked off his shots. So certainly in terms of significant strikes and volume, he was well up in this fight. Third round, Felipe knew he had it all to do, and he came out absolutely swinging, and this was his way better fight. Arlovski looked really, really tired. Again, we get another complaint for an eye poke, and again it goes to the officials, and they say nope, it was still very much a close fist. Felipe landing shots to the body, Arlovski trading back with jabs. Both fighters starting to really slow down. Cardio ended up being a massive factor in this third round, almost like the two were fighting through molasses. It got that slow. Felipe was really trying to look for the finish. Lands a big shot. Arlovski drops to the floor. Felipe tries to kind of swarm, but it was clear that Arlovski wasn't damaged too much, because he was quickly back to his feet, quickly back in the clinch. The clinch is broken, and Arlovski landing the quick jab on the way out. Felipe did land some big shots coming into the last few seconds, but there was no energy or power behind them, because both guys were absolutely worn out. Herb Dean ends up breaking a clinch after both guys were literally just breathing on each other, just absolutely knackered from this fight. And then we get a last few seconds trade, Felipe kind of taunting Arlovski, and then we get the typical kind of a brawler mentality where they go out on the swords on the shields, in the last 10-15 seconds, and just try and go hell for leather. No one really landed anything significantly, and the judges were unanimous in that the winner, 29-28, was Andrei Olofskay. all three judges giving him the first 2 rounds, and all three giving Felipe the third round. So then we go into the main event. Aspen Ladd coming in at very short notice to replace Holly Holm in this fight. Norma Dumont very upset about the withdrawal of Holly Holm, feels that it was maybe not very genuine, and she's definitely called for an interim title fight. But props to Aspen, who took this fight on very, very short notice, and also a weight above her natural weight. So, yeah, and that's the only thing I can really give her props for, because for a performance in this fight, there's nothing certainly in the first 4 rounds that you can really say Aspen Ladd deserved to be in this fight, or that she was much of a factor in this fight. Whilst it wasn't the most entertaining fight from both competitors by any stretch of the imagination, this was a labour to sit through. Dumont was easily the more active of the fighters, the more accurate of the fighters. Aspen Ladd, while she her head movement was really good, and she did well to avoid some of the more damaging shots of Norma Dumont. She really was lackluster in her attack. Her combinations were 1 puncher, 2 punches at best. Norma Dumont was much quicker, landing much harder jabs. The very few times that Aspen Ladd made any kind of inroads to Norma Dumont, Norma just laughed and waved him off. It's quite clear that Aspen Ladd is not a threat at this weight to the elite, the levels of Norma Dumont. Going into the second, very much like the first round, where Aspen was doing very, very minimal work. It took almost like 2 minutes for her to even throw a punch. She was just eating the jab over and over and over, and not doing anything to really counter it. Like I said, on around the 2 minute mark, she finally is able to rush forward and get a clinch, but Norma Dumont is able to just work her way out of it, back to the centre and back to using the jab. And she doesn't even really need to put any kind of any stank or any kind of power into it, because it was doing exactly what it needed to do, landing every single time, doing cumulative damage to Aspen Ladd. And Aspen Ladd was not in any kind of frame man to attack, to the point where her corner was screaming at her during the rounds to switch it up and throw more punches, but she was just oblivious to their advice. And even when she was in the mid-round breaks, and her coaches were brutally honest with her, and to the point where they were telling her, "What the fuck are you doing? What is this fight? Why are you doing this? I don't understand what you think your game is. You need to be attacking. You were 3 rounds down." Even in the 4th round, he said it's potential that you're 4 rounds down. There was no kind of sugarcoating it, which is it was brutal and kind of refreshing at the same time. And not many fighters' corners are so honest with the fighters. A lot of them tend to kind of sugarcoat stuff and try and keep the motivation high. Not for Aspen Ladd. She was told in no uncertain terms, "This is a very poor performance by you. I'm incredibly disappointed, and you need to go out in these last couple of rounds and do something, because you are losing this fight. How can you be putting in this kind of performance?" And in the 4th round, she carried it on. It was incredibly frustrating as someone who has seen Aspen Ladd put in massively dominant performances, and her only losses really in the UFC are to top name fighters. Like, I think before this fight she'd only lost to Jermaine Durandamy, who was former champion and elite level kickboxer, and obviously now this loss to Norma Dumont. I mean, the level of fighters she's losing to is very high level, but it's the performance she's putting in against these fighters. She's been incredibly dominated. Like I said, in this fourth round, corners were screaming at her to start picking up the pace and landing more shots. And she didn't, and Norma was able to take her down pretty much at will. Whilst Aspen's probably the best that she did in the whole of the first 4 rounds was when she actually was able to sweep to the top of the ground game, push up and land some punches. Unfortunately, there was not enough time to land a lot of punches or enough to win the fight or even the round. So going into the fifth, her coach said, no, in no uncertain terms, you need a finish in this fight. It's imperative that you get the finish, and she did her best in this. This was arguably the best round that she had. I mean, not even arguably, it was the best round that she had, because the first 4 rounds were absolutely gash from Aspen Ladd. But again, it was still not enough to get the victory. Landing some big shots in the clinch, landing up really forcing Norma Dumont up against the fence. Tried to go for the takedowns, but she was just not able to finish it. Norma Dumont was quite happily able to just defend in the clinch, not have to throw any big shots, just not absorb any big shots either. She was just smiling all the way through this round, just really controlling the wrists of Aspen Ladd. Aspen did break free in the last minute or so, landing a big right hand, but Norma Dumont fired back with some close knees. Aspen landing the last few punches, probably scored the last round on most of the judges' card. So Norma Dumont picks up the victory. 2 judges giving it 49-46, which sounds about right, that she'd won the first 4 rounds and then just coasted in that 5th round. 1 judge giving a bit more of a positive spin on Aspen Ladd's performance, giving her another round. Potentially it may have been the 3rd. But yeah, Aspen Ladd comes up short, and Norma Dumont strides on and is certainly looking to push for at least an interim title match, if not a full-blown title match in that featherweight division. So looking forward to next week's fight night. It's Martin Vettori, the recent title challenger to Israel Adesanya, taking on another former Israel Adesanya opponent, Paulo Costa, in the main event. And then in the co-main, we've got Grant Dawson and Rick Glenn. We've got Jocelyn Edwards taking on Jessica Rose Clark. Alex Caceres taking on Choi Seong Woo. Francisco Trinaldo back, taking on Dwight Grant. So quite a really kind of decent card there. Some fights kind of going under the radar there, but certainly some decent looking bouts there. So yeah, you can catch that with us here at 5 rounds next week. But that just about wraps up for this week's show. Be sure to follow me on Twitter at PodfatherMags. Be sure to give Carlos a follow at Kirby_Carlos. Hopefully his work and uni life is coming to wind down a little bit in the next few weeks, so hopefully he'll be able to make his long awaited comeback to the show, and he may have some news about his potential upcoming fights and his new fight gear. So yeah, hopefully we'll be able to share that with you in the coming weeks. But whilst you're following me on Twitter, definitely go and check out some more of the content from the amazing networks that 5 Rounds is proud to be a part of here at the Chair Shot, here at Visionaries Global Media, and right here at Radio Tekkers. But that's all from me. Thank you all for listening, and that is the end.
Spinning back kick, he's hurt. He hurt him big time. He's trying to finish.